Good morning and welcome to another FasTrax webinar. This is a weekly event we do every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we cover various topics of the FasTrax software. You can see all these events if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose the FTx Lifeline tab at the top of the screen, scroll down about halfway down the page, and choose that webinar button. This page will allow you to see the previous webinars, view their recordings, register for upcoming webinars, as well as sign up for the newsletter to remind you of these webinars. Today, we're going to be looking at the employee scheduler. This can be seen in Director after logging in by choosing the Schedules module. Before we look at the employee scheduler, though, we have to set up our employees to where they are assigned to stores and hours. So to do that, you choose the Maintenance module and choose the Employees tab. This area will have a list of all your employees, and in this right section, you assign them a default store. If they're full-time, choose the checkbox. If they're part-time, make sure that's unchecked, and then their max scheduled hours per week. Now, just because an employee is set to a default store doesn't mean they can't work at other stores. This just means that in the scheduler listing, it's going to show that employee by default as an option. You can add an employee to any schedule on any store. So once these values are set, we can then look at the Schedules module. And we're going to choose the Settings page first. Now, here you have the chain-wide settings. So in a corporate environment, this must be set. You can choose the schedule starts on, and this would be the day that you want your schedule to actually start on. So the first day of the week or whatever day of your scheduling that would be. The next area, there's two settings that kind of go hand in hand, the maximum part-time hours per week and the number of weeks to average part-time hours. The maximum part-time hours per week, this is going to be if an employee works more than this number of hours over the average of this number of weeks, they're then classified as a full-time employee. The system will keep track of that total. So this will be a great way to warn you if a part-time employee is working more than the state required law to then classify them as a full-time employee. Below that is the time scale. This will be if you want your schedule to have the every quarter hour, every half hour, or every full hour as an option. You then have the option to add a break time of X number of minutes on shifts longer than X number of hours. So in this case, if I chose the checkbox here, every 8 hours is going to add a 30-minute break. Once you have got these settings set in place, choose the Update button. And then you have to set your store settings. So we're going to look at store number 1 here. I'm going to choose Show. Here, we have the settings for the hours that each store is open. So I have my Monday through Sunday opening time and close time. If the store is closed on that certain day of the week, just simply choose that checkbox and that will then mark them as closed. You can also quickly copy Monday's hours for the rest of the week by choosing that button here, and that'll copy all those hours. So if I set that to close and then mark it as not closed, notice it's 12 to 12, I'll just choose this button and then it moves it back to 8 to 6. There's a setting here for stores are open after midnight. This is for actually building the schedule itself. Since your schedule is going to be for individual days, if you have this checked, this allows an employee to go into the next day. So you can schedule them on a Monday night that rolls into a Tuesday morning. You then have the setting for the minimum staff during store hours. So between these hours, there has to be at least 2 employees working on the schedule at any given time. Otherwise, you're going to get a warning, which we'll cover the warnings here in just a bit. Next, you have the pre-opening time needed and the post-closing time needed. This would be time prior to the store hours to do morning tasks or evening tasks, such as counting tills or loading tills or counting your cash drawers. At the end of your shift, doing a reconciliation. Then you have your weekly budgeted hours. Now, this is a math formula if you choose the Suggest button based on your store hours and your minimum staff and your pre and post time needed. If we look here, 8 to 6, that's a total of 10 hours. We have the store open for that 10 hours 7 days a week. So 10 times 7, that's 70, times 2 for 2 given employees at any given time, that's 140. We have our pre-opening time needed and our post-closing time needed. That's going to add an hour per day. So we have a total time needed of 147 hours. Now I can adjust this to whatever value I'd want. This is just that math formula is going to be if you choose the suggest button. When all is said is done, just choose the update button, and that will then add that store setting to where you can now schedule. Now if we choose a store that has not been done yet, such as corporate, and choose the show, you're going to get a warning here saying that there's no store settings found. So in order to build a schedule, you have to have hours set, values down here set, and the update button set. You can't actually build a schedule until you have your hours, your minimum staff needed, budget hours, and pre and post closing time needed. So once these are set, we can then actually look at our schedule screen. This screen will show you the schedules in this grid between this date range and for whatever stores you have selected here. So in this case, I have all stores between the 2nd and the 12th. To build a new schedule, just simply choose the New Schedule button, choose the week that you like to build it for. You can delete a schedule. You can copy a schedule. So for example, if I want to copy, let's say, this week's schedule, and maybe make that for store number 1, and we want to make that for the 21st. When I create, it's going to make an exact copy of the highlighted schedule and then bring up the schedule screen. Now, if I just exit out of this, it's not going to save that. So if I want to copy something, I need to make sure that I choose that Save button in the bottom right corner. So let's actually look at the schedule. So once we open this up, we can see each day of the week. We can see the schedule information, the employees at this store, and any warnings. So the store information, this will give you your schedule week. It'll give you your budgeted hours, which you can actually change by choosing that change hyperlink. It will give you your scheduled hours, so then let you know if you're over. In this case, we're 4 hours and 4.5 hours over the budgeted hours. We can see the employees that are assigned by default to this store, and then any warnings. So in this case, I've got a warning that I'm short on staff on Saturday. And that's going to be because I have that setting set to where at any given time during the store open hours, have 2 employees clocked in. So if I need to add an employee that is not assigned to the store by default, I can simply choose that Find button, and that brings up a list of all those employees, and I can quickly filter by typing in a search for. Highlight that employee, choose Select, and they would then show up down here in this grid. In this case, I've got everybody assigned to the store. To add an employee to the schedule, it's very simple. You just simply click on the employee, drag them to the day you would like. It's going to then bring up a window here where you can choose their start time and stop time and add break time if needed. So I'm going to choose 7:30. We're going to have them stopping at 10:30. And we want that to be AM, and save. Notice now I have on Saturday 2 employees in the store at all times. That warning went away. I'm still over my budgeted hours, so I can adjust that, either the total budgeted hours or adjust the schedule and removing employees from the schedule. But everything looks good. Now, notice if I grab this employee and I stretch their schedule out, it goes red. That's because employee number 4, they have a maximum hours per week set on their employee record to 20 hours. So if I'm going over that, then that's going to highlight that employee red. In this case, it's going to tell me it's 4.5 hours over. So I can just simply click on their record, lower that, and then it goes back blue, and everything's good. If I shorten this a bit, let's go up to like here. Notice I get a warning again because now I'm short staff. There's not 2 employees in the store at this time from 10:30 to 1. So whenever you're doing your schedule, ideally you're going to go through and you're going to make sure that there's no warnings, and there's no red. The system will warn you if, of course, if there's minimum staff. It'll warn you if you're going over your budgeted hours. It will warn you if a part-time employee is working full-time hours, if a full-time employee is working overtime, if an employee is working more than their max scheduled hours per week. And basically, you just want to make sure that all those rules you have set in place, that you're trying to follow those as best as possible to have the cleanest schedule. So when all is said and done, and you're ready to save this, choose the Save button, and that will then save that, and that will add that schedule to the queue if you're in a corporate environment. And then you just simply send that schedule down from your queue, and that the store will then receive that, and the employees can see their upcoming schedule. You can print this out as well by choosing that Print button. You can print the full schedule, which is this screen here, and it's going to have every employee's information. These can be exported to Excel or Word or whatever format you would like, such as PDF. You can also export or run the report for an individual employee's schedule or an employee schedule. So I'm going to cancel out of this. We're going to exit out of here. And we're going to look at how this looks in the point of sale. So I'm going to open up the point of sale here. We're going to log in. We can see here in the time clock section, we can see this employee's upcoming schedule. There's all the upcoming days that they're set to work. We can choose the view details or print. If I print, it's going to then print this schedule out on the receipt printer. If I view details, it's going to show the upcoming schedule. So I can see each employee's scheduled day and my schedule as well. I can choose the drop down up here, and I can view the upcoming schedule for the upcoming weeks. And then I can, of course, print this. And this will print it from the regular printer. So when done, just choose the Close button. And I'm going to go ahead and log off here. So that's how the employees at store level can see their schedules. Now, if you're in a corporate environment and you don't wish to manage the employee schedules, all you have to do is make sure that you first go into your settings and set the store parameters and your chain-wide settings and send that down. At that point, the stores can then manage their own schedule. Now, you at corporate will not have the ability to see that schedule in Director at corporate, but that the stores can still manage their individual schedule, so the store managers can handle that, and the corporate doesn't have to worry about that at that point. It's just corporate doesn't see, they'll see the clock in and clock out entries, but they don't see the actual budget hours and the employee individual schedules. All right, so I hope everybody learned something today. Once again, these events, these webinars are every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can see these if you go to our website, goftx.com. Choose the FTX Lifeline button. Scroll down about halfway down the page and choose that webinar button. This will allow you to sign up for upcoming webinars and to be notified via email, see the upcoming webinars, and view past webinars. If you have any questions about this topic, let us know at websupport@FasTraxPOS.com, or if you have any suggestions on future webinars, let us know at info@goftx.com. Thank you, and we hope to see you next week.